Welcome back to On the Rise as Jacen Russell-Rowe is finding his name hitting the transfer headlines, with an unknown Scottish club coming in for the Canadian international striker and putting in an offer already for Columbus Crew's backup striker in Jacen Russell-Rowe. But Columbus Crew quickly went out and rejected the offer from the unknown Scottish side for the young Canadian striker. And this is extremely interesting as this could be a major transfer for Jacen Russell-Rowe. But Columbus Crew are in no hurry to sell him as they are in a great position currently, as one of the best sides in the MLS, sitting third in their respective conference with a very exciting side and one of the best managers, if not the best, in Wilfried Nancy. This is a great Columbus Crew side. Having Jacen Russell-Rowe only adds to their exciting quality and depth as a unit. And Jacen Russell-Rowe is only 21 years of age with an extremely high ceiling. Whichever Scottish side coming in for Jacen Russell-Rowe will be having to offer a hefty sum of around 2.5 million to 3.5 million euros for the Canadian striker, who is currently valued on transfer market at the price of 2 million euros. So Columbus Crew are of course going to be wanting more than his current valuation, so it only makes sense that this would be a bigger Scottish side coming in for him that can truly afford this move. But before we jump into breaking down the details of the report from Tom Bogert and where I think he might end up and what is best for him, drop down below in the comments and let me know your guys' thoughts. Should he stay? Should he go? And what is your opinion on Jacen Russell-Rowe? Make sure to drop down below, hit the comments, drop a like, and hit that sub button, guys. We're ever so close to 400 subscribers, and it means the world to me, guys. And we're going to jump straight into things, as Tom Bogert, of course, was the man breaking the news with a great article, dropping a news around a Scottish club, putting in an offer for Jacen Russell-Rowe and Columbus Crew. But right now, Columbus Crew are really in no hurry to sell Jacen Russell-Rowe, as they just moved on Morris and made a lump sum of money from the sale of Morris. So Columbus Crew are sitting very well. Like I said, third in their respective conference. They have Cucho Hernandez as their number one striker, with Jacen Russell-Rowe backing him up and having a great chance to arguably maybe win the MLS this season. I'm not saying they will, but it's a great chance, and having Jacen Russell-Rowe in the squad only helps them even more with a great depth off the bench. And they're in no hurry to sell Jacen Russell-Rowe. So if you would think right now Jacen Russell-Rowe is going to be knocking on the door and Columbus Crew are going to be saying, let's sell him, they're in no position right now to say, we need to immediately sell Jacen Russell-Rowe, because they just made a great sum of money, so they're going to be only wanting over his valuation. That clearly wasn't met from that first offer from this unknown Scottish side. So they're going to be looking for, like I said, in the range of 2.5 to 3.5 million euros. His valuation is 2 million. So there's no way Columbus Crew are going to be accepting any offer right on his valuation or below it, because this is a player who's 21 years of age. He is with the Canadian national team, was with the side at the Copa America, and has a great ceiling under his belt. He is doing very well at the MLS level, having 5 goals a season and 1 assist across 1,000 minutes. And he's been, of course, their backup to Cucho Hernandez. And he will be starting in League Cup action. He will be getting regular minutes. So this will be no fault to his own if he stays with Columbus Crew, rides the bench, earns minutes, continues to prove himself under one of the best sides in MLS, because this is more of an attacking prominent league. So this does play into Jacen Russell-Rowe's hands. But from a Canadian perspective, we have to be looking at this as what is best for Jacen Russell-Rowe. And in my opinion, a transfer is the best situation for Jacen Russell-Rowe. I'm not saying he needs to rush this. I'm not saying he needs to go to Scotland right now. But I'm saying starting consistently week in and week out is of course best for Jacen Russell-Rowe, as long as he ends up at the right club. We can all say moving to Europe is better than playing in the MLS, but it truly depends on what club you're playing at. Because right now, you could say going to Scotland is a great option, but that depends. Is it Ross County coming in for him, or is it Livingston, or is it Celtic or Rangers or Aberdeen or Motherwell, or one of the top clubs? Because that all depends on how good this move could be. Because there's only going to be so many Scottish sides who can afford Jacen Russell-Rowe. This is a player who is not going to go for a cheap fee, like I said, guys. And you might look at it as 2.5 million. That's not much money in the world of football these days. But you got to look at Scotland, guys. Scotland isn't a league floating in cash, floating in money, able to chuck out the money freely. This is a side and a league which has a handful of teams who could possibly chuck out 2.5 million euros, which we will dive into. But for me, before we get into that sum of details and that deep dive, I really think Jacen Russell-Rowe's best option would be to move for his career, but at this point in time, I don't know if Columbus Crew will move off him. They don't need to sell him off as an asset right now after selling Morris. They can sit on Jacen Russell-Rowe. They can wait till January, till the winter transfer window for the European leagues, and then sell him on then, when more than likely his valuation will go up for Columbus Crew, or maybe throughout the summer his valuation will go up and they'll sell him deadline day or just before deadline day and get that sum of money as well. I think at this time being, I don't think in the next couple of weeks we will see a Jacen Russell-Rowe transfer, but I think it is the best for his career, because I think there's 4 Scotland clubs that I think have a chance of signing him and could meet that valuation. 2.5 million, 3.5 million is a decent sum of money for the Scottish Premiership. And of course, you look at which clubs can afford that immediately, that's what you got to think about. Because Tom Bogert didn't specify what club was in for him. He said a Scottish club are in for the Canadian in Jacen Russell-Rowe. So that could be anyone. But it really can't, because there is not lots of money floating around this league. Of course, you immediately look to Celtic and Rangers. For me, there's 4 clubs on my mind, I think, that could potentially be knocking on the door for Columbus Crew and wanting Jacen Russell-Rowe. Celtic and Rangers immediately come to mind. Both have rich history of Canadians, not really rich, but a history of Canadians, whether it's Alistair Johnston, whether it's Scott Arfield. There's history of Canadians at both sides, more so they can afford the fee. Do they need a number 9? Do they need a 21-year-old striker? Potentially, not to start, which is what Jacen Russell-Rowe needs. They could go out there and buy him and then loan him out. But I don't think if it's Scotland side, I don't think it's Rangers or Celtic who are extremely lowballing them on their valuation of Jacen Russell-Rowe. Unless Columbus Crew are asking a ridiculous sum of money for a 21-year-old Canadian who is their backup striker. That could also be a possibility. But I just don't see Celtic or Rangers or one of those sides really pushing this move. For me, I think it's the likes of Motherwell or Aberdeen. And we're going to start with Motherwell. Motherwell, of course, for obvious reasons. Rich history of the Canadian number 9 and Theo Bair, who just was sensational last season for Motherwell, and now has moved to the Ligue 1 side in Auxerre. And the obvious link here is to do with Theo Bair. In football, there's always the pure connections, there's the patterns, there's whether it's with a manager, whether it's a transfer, whether it's a knock-on effect or a ripple effect, for instance, in the transfer window, or just in general. And you could see it here. Motherwell moving off of a Canadian striker who started his predominant career in Scotland as a 21-year-old. And that's when he did move to the likes of Scotland as a 21-year-old, joining St. Johnstone. That was when Theo Bair went to Scotland. And now you can see a resemblance here. Jacen Russell-Rowe's 21, a very high ceiling, arguably at the age of 21, a much higher ceiling than Theo Bair had, and is getting links to Scotland. There's your pattern. 2 Canadian strikers set to move, links, 21 years old, going to Scotland. A clear pattern, a clear link. I'm not saying it means anything, but in football, there's always patterns, there's always links, there's also ripple effects, and this could be one. But Jacen Russell-Rowe to Motherwell just makes sense. You could look at the money situation. Previously, Motherwell would have been in no financial situation to probably move on to a player like Jacen Russell-Rowe from the MLS. But now getting a significant sum of money for a certain Canadian striker in Theo Bair, now have the financial stability to probably go out there and pay 2.5, 3 million euros for the likes of Jacen Russell-Rowe. So that becomes a viable option now for Motherwell. And now when you also look at a side like, which I believe could be the 4th and arguably one of the best top 2 situations for Jacen Russell-Rowe in Aberdeen. A club with already another Canadian connection in Junior Hoylett, but also a side with a lot of rich football history. They've done a lot of things throughout the years in football, whether it's European football, whether it's Scottish football, whether it's developing players, whether it's having iconic managers, and also high expectations. It's a great fan base. It's an exciting club. Jacen Russell-Rowe would arguably be set to start or have a great opportunity to fight for the starting role at Aberdeen. But also, it's just a great place where I think Aberdeen can also afford this. They're one of the top clubs in Scotland, whether it's a rich history, all the other reasons I rang off. It's another great option. I think there's 4 clubs there off the top of my head who have that chance to go for Jacen Russell-Rowe, who can afford it, who have clear links, and also, coincidentally, all four have Canadian connections, whether it's Theo Bair at Motherwell, whether it's Junior Hoylett at Aberdeen, whether it's Alistair Johnston at Scotland, or whether it's Scott Arfield at Rangers. There's always a Canadian connection in Scotland. And it's very fun because Canadians have thrived in Scotland. And I think Jacen Russell-Rowe would be suited to starting in Scotland. And any of those clubs make sense, whether it's Celtic or Rangers, moving him on for a loan deal, not selling him on. I don't know what I'm going for there. Whether it's those two major clubs buying him and then moving him on for a loan deal to a Scandinavian league, to a Belgian league, or whether it's Motherwell coming in to replace a Canadian with a Canadian and start him as the replacement for Theo Bair, or whether it's Aberdeen coming in and making a great move for Jacen Russell-Rowe. For me, those are the four clubs. I think they're interesting options. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say down below in the comments. Do you think he moves this window, or do you think you sit on him, wait till January? Because like I said, I don't think Columbus Crew are in that position where they need to sell him. They're a great run-in now to win the MLS. He could get decent minutes under a very good manager, learning off a very good striker. Either way here, Jacen Russell-Rowe can't go wrong as long as he joins the right club in Scotland. This is the only spot he could go wrong, is choosing the right club. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below in the comments. Make sure to drop that like, hit that sub button, guys. We're ever so close to 400 subscribers, and we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.